Shabbat Tov, everyone. Welcome to video number 92 in our Tulis Tells Saturday Night Stories group. I adopted and supplemented this story from a treasury of Hasidic tales, as translated by Uri Kaplun, from Sipuri Hasidim by Harav Zevin. Rav Tali of Rovshitz had spent a year studying humbly with the aged tzaddik Rabbi Mordechai of Neshchiz. When his teacher one day told him, suddenly, "It's time for you to return to your home." Since his entreaties to allowed to stay were ignored, Rav Naftali decided to ask his teacher's Rebbetzin to try to persuade her husband on his behalf. She agreed to try. Rabbi Mordechai of Neshchiz was a descendant of the Maharal of Prague and Don Yitzhak of Barbanel, and was a disciple of Rabbi Yechiel Michal of Zlotchov. It's recorded that he performed miracles and that he never uttered a negative word about another person, which in my opinion is also a great miracle, perhaps the greatest. He passed away on the 8th of Nisan in the year 1800. For your information, Neshchiz is located north of Lvov, then part of Poland, but now part of Ukraine, not far from its border with Poland. Rav Tali of Rovshitz was born on the first day of Shavuot in 1760, the same day and the same date and the same year as the Baal Shem Tov's passing. He became the Rebbe of many thousands of Hasidim, and he was noted for his sharp wit and humor and his creative aphorisms. His Yortzeit is on the 11th of Iyar, coming up in 2 weeks. The Rebbe's answer to his wife was brief. "I have always taken your advice, and I shall do so now. I only hope that we shall have no cause for regret." A few days later, when Rabbi Mordechai was at shul, a stranger visited his home and entered his study. Rabbi Naftali was there at the time, and no sooner had he laid eyes on this stranger than his spiritual perception revealed that the man was filled with sins. Unable to restrain himself, he blurted, "Get out, you impure fellow! How dare you step over the Rebbe's threshold?" The stranger fled, but Rabbi Mordechai, sensing what had happened, hastened home and asked, "Who was here?" When Rav Naftali described the visitor, the tzaddik rebuked him. "Whatever have you done? Quick, hurry, and bring him back here." When the stranger was brought in, Rav Mordechai gave him a warm, smiling welcome and asked him why he had not called on him for so long. The visitor assured the tzaddik that in the future he would come more frequently, offered him gifts of his own farm produce, and took his leave. The tzaddik then explained to Rav Naftali that this man had once been close to him, the Rebbe, and the Rebbe had been able to help him keep his distance from evil. Later, however, various circumstances had combined to prevent him from visiting Neshchiz, and the link between them had severed. At first, he became sullied with lesser transgressions. But since, as the sages teach, one sin brings another in its train, he reached the point where he asked himself, quote, "How am I going to end up? It is like I am really neither a Jew nor a Goy. I can hardly go off to Neshchiz to visit the Rebbe, for he will recognize at once that I am utterly enslaved to the evil inclination. On the other hand, if I don't go, I will simply become more and more deeply entangled in sin." And so he continued to ponder the possibilities open to him, until finally he had decided to break his ties with his faith, and to become an apostate, God forbid, to convert to a different religion. But at that point, a new idea entered his head. "Let me make one more trial. I will make the journey to Neshchiz, and there I will see. If he receives me warmly, that shows that there is hope for me yet. I'll put my life in order, be a good Jew again, and visit the Rebbe often, just like I used to. But if he doesn't, then I'll make a clean break with him and with Judaism altogether." The tzaddik, understandably enough, had not wanted all his hard work on behalf of this struggler in speech and in prayer to be imperiled by Rabbi Naftali's impetuous tongue, and that was why, some days earlier, he had directed him to go home. Now, as you're aware, I don't like to give explanations and moral lessons from the stories, but in this case, it seems worthwhile to point out that 3 lessons we can learn from this story are all mentioned in chapter 1 of Pirkei Avot, which we all started studying this Shabbat afternoon. And we'll study every Shabbat afternoon until at least Shavuos, some continuing through the summer, as in Chabad. In the second Mishnah, it says, be patient in judgment. In the sixth Mishnah, it says, judge every person favorably. In the 15th Mishnah, it says, receive every person positively.